bi-weekly basis from there. So if you are 12 and up, you're in the senior group, I think, but talk to Mrs. Kirkos, talk to Mrs. Callis for more details. Now, who did we talk about last week? Who remembers? King David. Actually, that's right. And we talked about his son. Do you remember his son's name? Well, that's a good guess. Do you remember his son's name? Solomon was David's son's name. And last week we remembered that Solomon, he had a dream, and God spoke to him and said, because of the faithfulness of your father, you can ask me anything you like. And Solomon said, I would like wisdom so that I can deal with your people in wisdom and in justice. And God said, because you asked this, you will also have wealth and power and success. And Solomon said, thank you. Right? Hopefully, Solomon said thank you. Now, Solomon went on and he built a temple. Now, if you remember, the people of God up to this point, who remembers where have they been worshiping God? There was no temple yet, though. So where were they worshiping God? Do you remember what Moses put together in the wilderness with all the people? We only talked about this a little bit. All right. A tabernacle. They had a tent. Tabernacle is a fancy word for a tent. They had a big tent that was actually about as big as our church, probably. And it was kind of laid out the same way as our church. There was an outer court, like the narthex. There was an inner court for the people, the holy place. And there was the Holy of Holies behind a curtain, and that was where the Ark of the Covenant went. But Solomon said, it's time. We have a city, Jerusalem. We have kings. It's time that we build a temple. So he built a temple out of bricks and wood and gold, lots of gold. A beautiful, beautiful temple for the people. And he asked God to come and to dwell there. And then God said this. God answered his prayer and did so. And he came to Solomon and he said, I heard your prayer and what you asked of me, that you made before me. I have sanctified this house which you have built. I have put my name there forever, and my eyes and my heart will be there always. And if, now listen to this, if you will walk before me in integrity of heart and in righteousness to do everything that I have commanded you, like your father David did, if you obey my statutes and my judgments, if you do these things, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom upon Israel forever, as I promised to David your father, saying, you shall not fail to have a man descended from you on the throne of Israel. What comes after an if? A but. If you don't do these things, then you shall, if you at all turn from following me, you or your children, and don't obey my commandments and my statutes, and go and serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut off Israel from the land I have given them, and this house that I have sanctified, this beautiful temple you just built, will be torn down and destroyed. It will be, and Israel will be a proverb and a byword among the peoples. And when people walk by this house that you built, which is so beautiful and wonderful, everyone that passes by it shall be amazed, seeing it broken down so that there's not one stone still sitting on top of another. So Solomon said, okay, I will not do this, and my sons will not do that. Do you think Solomon was right? Probably not. We've seen how this goes before. So after this, we're going to move on, and we're going to see how Solomon keeps the kingdom, but his son loses it, and then we're going to move on quickly to what happens next. For now, let's remember that the house that we worship God in is actually built very, very much like the temple, and that all of our worship goes back to this appearance of God, not just to Moses, but also to Solomon. For now, stand up and let's receive communion. Hey, buddy, how are you? Med a fåvo Theopistios και αγάπης προσέρθετε με τα